Good morning, Idaho. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to the Local Yokel Idaho podcast, where we talk about what is going on in the wonderful state of Idaho. Welcome to the morning banter, just kind of a little bit of a time where I chat with you guys before we get into the bulk of the podcast. For those of you that listened to the podcast update, and for those of you that didn't, I'll just kind of update you real quick. I got sick last Tuesday, and so I haven't been able to record any until Saturday, which is when I'm recording this now. So the podcast may be a little delayed. I'm not sure at this point as of recording it. I'm hoping it's not, but if it is, that's probably the reason why. And I'm sorry about that. I can't really control when I'm sick, and I don't have anybody to cover for me. So if I'm down, the whole show's down. But thankfully, I have my voice back. Earlier this week, I guess I could have recorded because I wasn't congested, but my throat just hurt too much to be able to speak, and I didn't want to put you guys' ears through that. But as it stands right now, my voice just has a little bit of an issue with the high end, so if I keep in the low end, everything's just fine. So if I sound a lot deeper in this week's podcast, that's probably the reason why, because I'm trying to stay away from the high-end volumes that will cause it to clip and make me sound like I am a teenager and his voice is changing. But with that said, coming back to stuff with Idaho, it has been really, really cold over in eastern Idaho. We got a couple stories about that, and I'm not trying to ruin that or anything, but still, it has been super, super, super cold. I saw several reports. I should have talked about it on Twitter, but I didn't get around to it because I was sick. About several school closures. I mean, for kids, they're probably all very excited over there in eastern Idaho and Rexburg and Idaho Falls and Pocatello, being like, yay, no school. But for everyone else, it sounds like it was a bit of a crazy winter storm. I don't know if you guys got a lot of snow. I didn't look into that, but it just looked like things got really, really cold. We'll get into the exact numbers and stuff later on in the podcast. And then another update as I finally, I stress this, finally, the podcast is now on iTunes. So for all you Apple users out there that love having it on iTunes, or you're listening to this on the YouTube version as you've been waiting patiently for that, thank you. We are now on iTunes. As far as I know, we are. I don't have an Apple phone or different stuff to be able to check, but according to everything I can see, we are on iTunes. So for those interested, you can go check that out there, and please leave a review and a rating of the podcast if you do have iTunes and everything else, because I hear that would quite help the podcast a great deal. But yeah, I think that's the major things. Sick, cold, iTunes, and we'll get into the bulk of the podcast. I'm trying to keep this short. I'm hoping I don't lose my voice halfway through this, so if the audio changes and you're like, oh, he sounds one way and now he sounds a different way, might be because I had to stop because my voice just completely gave out, but we're going to try here and we'll see how much I can get through. Please bear with me for this week's podcast. Starting off with holidays and interesting events for the week, we have Monday the 6th of February, which is National Chopstick Day and Frozen Yogurt Day. As for in history, in 1778, France recognized the U.S., signing the Treaty of Alliance in Paris. In 1952, Queen Elizabeth II succeeded King George VI on the British throne. And lastly, in 1971, Alan Shepard was the first person to hit a golf ball on the moon. As for birthdays, Monday was Ronald Reagan's and Babe Ruth's birthday. Tuesday the 7th of February is National Periodic Table Day and Send a Card to a Friend, so might write some letters there. As for in history, nothing actually major that jumped out that I saw that was worth sharing, but in birthdays, Tuesday was John Deere's and Charles Dickens' birthday, and is Chris Rock's 56th birthday. As for deaths, in 2009, Frank Robinson died. Next up, Wednesday the 8th of February is National Kite Flying Day and Boy Scout Day. As for in history, in 1672, Isaac Newton read the first optical paper before the Royal Society in London. In 1926, Disney Brother Cartoon Studio became Walt Disney Studios. And in birthdays, Wednesday was Lauren Turner's and James Dean's birthday. Moving on to Thursday. Thursday, the 9th of February, is National Pizza Day, Bagel Day, and Toothache Day, so you might want to check out the dentist on that day if you can. As for in history, in 1775, British Parliament declared Massachusetts a colony in rebellion. And in 1943, Japanese troops evacuated Guadalcanal. As for deaths, in 1981, Bill Haley died. Friday, the 10th of February, is National Umbrella Day. As for in history, in 1763, the Treaty of Paris was signed, ending the French-Indian War, thus giving Canada to Britain. In 1906, the British battleship HMS Dreadnought launched after only 100 days, being the first battleship to sail. In 1940, Tom and Jerry cartoon debuted for the first time. And lastly, in 1996, IBM's Deep Blue Water computer defeated a human at chess for the first time. As for birthdays, Friday was Elizabeth Banks' 48th birthday. As for deaths, in 2014, Shirley Temple died. Saturday, the 11th of February, little bit of a short one, but it is National Inventors Day and Global Movie Day and Snowmobile Day. As for history, nothing major, but in birthdays, Friday was Thomas Edison's birthday, and it is Jeb Bush's 69th birthday, and Jennifer Aniston's 53rd birthday. As for deaths, in 2012, Whitney Houston died. Finishing out with Sunday, the 12th of February, is National Pork Rind Day. As for history, in 1999, Bill Clinton was acquitted by the Senate in his impeachment trial. And in 2001, Near Shoemaker spacecraft became the first spacecraft to land on an asteroid. As for birthdays, Sunday was Abraham Lincoln's and Charles Darwin's birthday. And in deaths, in 1804, Immanuel Kant died. In 1971, James Penny died. And lastly, in 2000, Charles M. Schultz died. Now for the upcoming events, I'm going to read the timestamps for each town. That way you can jump to whichever town you're interested in, thus saving you time. Starting off with Boise at 10 minutes 4 seconds, Meridian at 14 minutes 2 seconds, Nampa at 14 minutes 36 seconds, Caldwell at 15 minutes 28 seconds, Eagle at 16 minutes 4 seconds, Kuna at 17 minutes 8 seconds, Emmett at 17 minutes 39 seconds, Twin Falls at 18 minutes 8 seconds, Pocatello at 19 minutes 19 seconds, Idaho Falls at 21 minutes 50 seconds, Rexburg at 23 minutes 50 seconds, McCall at 24 minutes 40 seconds, Cascade at 25 minutes 35 seconds, Lewiston at 26 minutes 8 seconds, Moscow at 27 minutes 24 seconds, Coeur at 28 minutes 23 seconds, Post Falls at 29 minutes 15 seconds, Sandpoint at 29 minutes 46 seconds, and the end of events at 30 minutes 22 seconds. Starting out of events with Boise. In city events, Monday, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 10 p.m. at Boise City Hall. Then moving on to Tuesday, there is a City Council work session and meeting at City Hall. The work session is at 3:30 p.m. and the meeting is at 6 p.m. Then moving on to Wednesday, there is a special events team meeting at 9:30 a.m. at Boise City Hall. Also on Wednesday, there is a Library Board of Trustees meeting at 11:30 a.m. at the main library. Also Wednesday, there is a Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee meeting at 12 p.m. at Boise City Hall. And lastly for Wednesday, there is a Design Review Committee meeting at 5:45 p.m. at City Hall. Then moving to Thursday, there is a Hillside work session at 1 p.m. at City Hall. Also Thursday, there is a meetup with the mayor at 4 p.m. at 2153 East River Drive. And then next Monday, February 13th, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 5:45 p.m. at City Hall. And then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a City Council work session and meeting at City Hall. The work session is at 3:30 p.m. and the meeting is at 6 p.m. As for performances, Monday, there is the 5x5 reading series at 7 p.m. at BCT. Then moving to Tuesday, Amar Tolles will be performing at the Morrison Center at 8 p.m. Then moving to Wednesday, there is a comedy performance at 6 p.m. at the Riverside Hotel. Tickets are $15 a piece. Then Saturday, there's the 10th annual Valentine's Ball at the Riverside Grill. It is for people 21 plus and admission is $28. Also Saturday, there is Woo at the Zoo from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Boise Zoo. Quote, open to both singles and sweethearts 18 and older. This Valentine's event will reveal intimate secrets of exotic animal mating and dating, plus some other things. Then Sunday, there's a spring orchestra concert at 6:30 p.m. at the Morrison Center. From Thursday into Saturday, there is the 2023 Boise Golf and Travel Show at 5610 North Glenwood Street, Boise. From Thursday into Sunday, there is the Ballet Idaho Anthology performance at Boise State. And then next Tuesday, February 14th, the Paragon Fund is doing an event for Valentine's Day called Nothing Says Valentine's Day Like Raptors from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at 3401 South Brazil Street, Boise. And lastly, in performances next Tuesday, February 14th. There is the Romancing the Pen from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Old Idaho Penitentiary. It will be a guided tour of the penitentiary with exhibits on love stories and love letters from the penitentiary. And fun events Thursday, there is a school age fun event from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. at the Hillcrest Library. Kids will be going through STEAM topics. Then moving on to Saturday and Sunday, there is a model train show at the Idaho State Museum. There will be 4 different models set up from several different model groups in the valley. And lastly, in fun things, every Sunday, the Boise Depot has an open house and tours. It is open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and tours are from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. In other events, Monday, there is a sewing machine basics class from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Jones Sewing and Vax. Then Tuesday, there is a drop-in writer's workshop from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the cabin. Then Wednesday, there is a virtual fruit tree pruning class from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The class is free. You'll just need to register. Then Friday, there is an Idaho Historical Society event called Quarrying Sandstone from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Idaho Penitentiary. It is about the quarry mine near Table Rock that provided the material to construct the old penitentiary, Idaho State Capitol Building, and the Harkness Tower at Yale University. Then lastly, Friday, there is an avalanche awareness presentation from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Boise City website or check the link in the description below. Meridian, just one thing for City. Tuesday, there is a City Council work session and meeting at City Hall. The work session is at 4:30 p.m. and the meeting is at 6 p.m. In fun stuff, Monday, there is the Meridian Knights Chess Club meeting from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Meridian Library. In other events, Saturday, there is a Troop 1 pancake breakfast from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Meridian United Methodist Church. It is $5 a person and $20 for a family. For more information on anything talked about, go to the Meridian City website or check the link in the description below. Nampa, starting off with city events. Monday, there is a city council meeting from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the council chamber. Then next Monday, February 13th, there is an airport commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 112 North Pilatus Lane, Nampa. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a planning and zoning commission meeting at 6 p.m. at the council chambers. In performances, Saturday, there is a daddy and daughter date night from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Harwood Rec Center. In fun stuff, Tuesday, there are pickleball lessons from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Harwood Rec Center. It is $75 for members and $82 for non-members. Then Wednesday, there is a Bogus Basin Snowshoe event from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. starting at the Harwood Rec Center. For more information on anything talked about, go to the Nampa City website or check the link in the description below. Caldwell, just city events here, nothing else. Tuesday, there is a city council meeting from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Caldwell Police Station. Then Wednesday, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Caldwell Police Station. Then Thursday, there is a KTSY Radio 2023 Leadership Breakfast from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at 1000 West Myrtle Street, Boise. And lastly, next Monday, there is an Urban Renewal Agency meeting from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Caldwell Police Station. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Caldwell City website or check the link in the description below. Eagle, in city events Monday, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 6 p.m. They will be reviewing requests from Al Scott Real Estate, Timberland Development, and Dry Ventures for annexation and rezoning. Then Tuesday, there is an Eagle Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 6 p.m. at the council chambers. Then Thursday, there is a Design Review Commission meeting at 6 p.m. at the council chambers. Thursday, the Mayor's Youth Advisory meeting is canceled. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a city council meeting at 5:30 p.m. at the council chambers. They will be reviewing requests from Colin Marks and Madera Development Inc. for rezoning and annexation. They will be also looking at waiver approval for Mark and Carissa Summers, plot approval for Stadium View Center subdivision, and a vacation/irrigation request. In fun events, Thursday, there is a Tubing Hill Night event from 5:45 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. at the Gateway Park in Eagle. Make sure to register if you're interested. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Eagle City website or check the link in the description below. Kuna, two city events here. Tuesday, there is a city council meeting at 6 p.m. at City Hall. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 6 p.m. at City Hall. In performances, there is a Sweetheart Dance from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at 557 North Locust Grove Road in Kuna Saturday. It is $10 to $15 a ticket. The event is open for high school students. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Kuna City website or check the link in the description below. Emmett, in city events next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a city council meeting from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at City Hall. Then Wednesday, there's a ribbon cutting ceremony from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. for Saddle and Sage on Main Street. In fun things, Tuesday, there is a homeschoolers art class at 2:30 p.m. at the Grateful Gardens Art Studio. They'll be making Valentine cards. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Emmett City website or check the link in the description below. Twin Falls, in city events Monday, there is a Historic Preservation Commission meeting from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. There is also a city council meeting from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then moving on to Tuesday, there is an Airport Advisory Board meeting from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then also on Tuesday, there is a Public Arts Commission meeting from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Then next Monday, February 13th, there is a City Council meeting from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The location for the events was not stated, so I assume all of them are at City Hall. In performances, Wednesday, there is the Magic Valley Young Professionals Trivia Night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 156 Main Avenue North, Twin Falls. Then Friday, there is the World of Musical Performance from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the College of Southern Idaho. In other events, Saturday and Sunday, there is a gun show starting at 9 a.m. at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds. For more information on anything talked about, go to the Twin Falls City website or check the link in the description below. Pocatello, so far so good. My voice is still hanging in there. As for city events, Tuesday, there is a Chamber of Commerce meeting from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 324 Main Street, Pocatello. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Chamber of Commerce meeting from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 324 South Main Street, Pocatello. As for performances, Friday, there is a steak night with American Legion from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 300 North Johnson Avenue, Pocatello. It is $16 per meal and $9 for seniors. All proceeds are going to support programs for the American Legion Post 4. Then Saturday, there is an ISU Jazz Fest at the Stephen Performing Arts Center. There is not a stated time, so I would reach out to them for that. Then Friday, there is a comedy tour from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Star Route Brewery. Then Saturday, there is an Edwardian musical mystery called A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at the Westside Players at the Warehouse. Then next Saturday, February 18th, there is a dry bar comedy tour at 7 p.m. at Blackfoot Performing Arts Center. Jenna Jones, Paul Sheffield, and Seth Tippett will be performing. If you're curious about it, the Dry Bar Comedy Group has a wonderful YouTube channel. I recommend you checking it out. Some of the comedians I have found on there, I've really enjoyed. I haven't heard of these guys particularly, but if you're curious to see, I have no doubt they've probably done stuff with the Dry Bar in the past, and you could see some clips of their performance to see if it's worth dropping by. As for fun stuff, Tuesday there is a free ski night at the Pebble Creek ski area. Just make sure to get one of their free tickets before going up there. Also Tuesday, there is a Senior Activity Center Valentine's Day celebration from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 427 North 6th Avenue, Pocatello. And also Tuesday, there is an annual Kids Valentine's Day cookie decorating event from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 2025 Flandreau Drive, Pocatello. Then Friday, there is a student craft night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Pond Student Union. They will be making lip gloss, and there will also be snacks and drink. Then Saturday, there is date night at the zoo from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Pocatello Zoo. Tickets for couples are $50 a piece. And in other events, Wednesday, there's a team roping event from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Bannock County Event Center. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Pocatello City website or check the link in the description below. Idaho Falls, just one thing for city here. Wednesday, there is an Idaho Falls Power Board meeting from 7:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. They don't give a location for the event, so you might need to contact some people on that. As for performances, Tuesday, there is a blues and jazz performance from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 435 A Street, Idaho Falls. Then Thursday, there is the World of Musical performance at 7:30 p.m. at the Colonial Theater. Then Friday, the Water Springs Church is having a Valentine's Day Gala from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Admission is $30 a person and $50 for a couple, plus childcare is provided for an extra $10. Then Saturday, there's a National Geographic concert called Symphony for Our World at 7:30 p.m. at the Idaho Falls Symphony Building. Then next Saturday, February 18th, there is a dry bar comedy tour at 7 p.m. at Blackfoot Performing Arts Center. Jenna Jones, Paul Sheffield, and Seth Tippett will be performing. If you're curious about it, the Dry Bar Comedy Group has a wonderful YouTube channel. I recommend you guys checking out. I've actually just organically found that on my own YouTube feed and stuff, and I found some really, really cool comedians that they've had do it. So you might want to check out. I haven't heard about these comedians that they're having performing there, but I have no doubt they probably have some clips on their YouTube channel if you're curious to see if it's worth seeing, if it's your type of humor. But I would highly recommend taking a quick look to see if it's in your wheelhouse. If I was closer, I would actually go to this event, so would recommend getting a quick look to see if it's worth it. In fun events, Saturday, there's an event called Come to Roost at Camas from 4:30 p.m. to sunset at Camas NWR headquarters. They're welcoming people to come and watch the Bald Eagles and have complimentary hot cocoa and cookies while watching. In other events, Wednesday, there is the 2023 Organic Gardeners class from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is an ongoing class. Right now, they'll be covering this week on seed starting basics. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Idaho Falls City website or check the link in the description below. Rexburg, nothing in city events, but in fun things, Tuesday, there's an art exploration event at 3:30 p.m. for kids at City Hall. The Rexburg Arts is putting it on, and you will need to register for that. Also Tuesday, there's a creative corner for teens at 4:30 p.m. at City Hall. Then moving to Thursday, there's an intro to watercolor class for adults at 7 p.m. at City Hall. You will need to register. And lastly, on Friday and Saturday, there is a Valentine's Mixer event for adults and high schoolers from 5:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. at 579 East 3000 Road North, Suite B, Rexburg. It is $20 for singles and $25 for couples. In other events, Thursday, there is an open studio for adults at City Hall at 10 a.m., and you will need to register for that as well. For more information about any things I talked about, go check the link in the description below. McCall got a couple things for city here. Tuesday, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 4:30 p.m. at Legion Hall. Then also Tuesday, there's a Tree Advisory Committee meeting at 7 p.m. at 413 Rio Vista Boulevard, McCall. Also Wednesday, there is a golf advisory committee meeting at 5 p.m. at McCall Golf Course. Then Thursday, there is a city council meeting at 5:30 p.m. at Legion Hall. Next Monday, February 13th, there is a Historic Preservation Commission meeting at 4:30 p.m. at Legion Hall. And also next Monday, February 13th, there is a Library Board of Trustees meeting at 10 a.m. at Legion Hall. In fun events, there is a cross-country skiing and snowshoeing at the Meadow Creek Golf Resort from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. For an adult pass, it is $10, and for youth, it is $5. It will be going until April 30th. For more information on anything talked about, go to the McCall City website or check the link in the description below. Cascade, pretty standard one. Friday, there is a dinner from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at American Legion. Also Friday, there's a swing dance class from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It is free for all ages to attend and will be happening at the Valley Club building. It will be on country and line dancing. If you have any questions, call Steve at 208-861-8486. And then also lastly, Friday, there is bingo at the Senior Center this Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. For more information on anything talked about, go to the Cascade City website or check the link in the description below. Lewiston. So in city events, Monday, there is a city council work session from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Bell Building. Wednesday, there is a planning and zoning meeting from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 1215 D Street, Lewiston. Then Thursday, there is a Disability Advisory Commission meeting at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. at 1134 F Street, Lewiston. Then next Monday, February 13th, there is a City Council meeting from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 411 D Street, Lewiston. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there's an Urban Renewal Agency meeting from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. at 1134 F Street, Lewiston. As for performances, Saturday, there is a Roundup Riders 4D Winter Series from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Lewiston Roundup. And in other events, Thursday, there is Quilting with Coral from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lewiston Library. Thursday, there's an after-school art new learning lab from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. at the Lewiston Library. And lastly, Thursday, there is a middle school girls STEM club meeting. It is being held from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. at the library. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Lewiston City website or check the link in the description below. Moscow. In performances, Wednesday, there is a story time at 5:15 p.m. at the Moscow Public Library. Then Thursday, the Moscow Film Society is showing Al Capone in Dog Day Afternoon at 7 p.m. at the Kenworth Theater. Then Friday, the Idaho Sierra Club is having a Wild and Scenic Film Festival at 7 p.m. at the Kenworth Theater. Then next Tuesday, February 14th, there is the Tuesday Birds Book Club from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Moscow Library. And fun events, Saturday, there is a teeny poem workshop from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Moscow City Hall. Then Sunday, there is a Valentine's Chocolate and Flower Guild class from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Moscow Contemporary. The class is $65 a person. And lastly, next Monday and Tuesday, there is a Valentine's Bouquet Bar at 12 p.m. on Monday and closes at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. For more information on anything talked about, go check the link in the description below. Coeur d'Alene. In city events, Tuesday, there is a city council meeting at 4 p.m. at the library. Then Thursday, there is a historical preservation subcommittee meeting at 4 p.m. at City Hall. Then next Monday, February 13th, there is a general service / public works committee meeting at 12 p.m. at the library. Then next Monday, February 13th, there is a CDA TV committee meeting at 8 a.m. at City Hall. Next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 12 p.m. at the library. Also next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Parking Commission meeting at 3 p.m. at City Hall. As for performances, Saturday, there is the Chocolate Affair event from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 105 North 1st Street. If you're interested in sweets, this is perfect for you. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Coeur d'Alene City website or check the link in the description below. Post Falls. In city events, Tuesday, there is a city council meeting from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Post Falls City Hall. And then also next Tuesday, February 14th, there is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at City Hall. In fun things, Sunday, there is a Valentine's Day floral design class from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Jackline Art Center. The class costs between $89 to $109. For more information about anything talked about, go to the Post Falls City website or check the link in the description below. Finishing it out with Sandpoint in performances, there is live piano with Dwayne Parsons from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 301 Cedar Street, Sandpoint. Also Wednesday, the Pineda Theater is hosting a movie called An Affair to Remember at 7 p.m. Then Saturday, there is a comedy show from 7 p.m. at the Pineda Theater. Travis Nelson will be performing. In Fun Stuff Saturday, there is the Western Pleasure Snowshoe Roundup at 1413 Upper Gold Creek Road. Check below for signing up and times. For more information about anything talked about, go check the link in the description below. Heading into the news with our first story here, record lows set in East Idaho. This comes by the East Idaho News by Caitlin Hart. For those that have not heard or are not in the east part of the state, it is cold, like super cold, like colder than the South Pole cold. So cold that it has broken past several records for several cities in the east. Here are the following records broken for the coldest overnight temperatures. Idaho Falls at negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest since 2009. Pocatello, negative 16, the coldest since 2017. Rexburg, negative 26, the coldest since 1998. Stanley at negative 36, the coldest since 2017. And Chalice at negative 27, the coldest since 2017. Put some of those numbers into context. These numbers were recorded on Tuesday and Monday of last week. Well, Tuesday of last week at the South Pole, the lowest it got was negative 25 degrees. That means Idaho Falls was 5 degrees colder than the South Pole, and Stanley was 11 degrees colder. Plus, the coldest city in America, Fairbanks, Alaska, only reached a low of 4 degrees on the same days these records were taken, which is just crazy to think about. I mean, I've been in like negative 15, maybe negative 20, close to that. Temperatures in my life, but this sounds crazy. I mean, I'm not going to name the person, but I do have a friend that is currently living over there in Rexburg and attending the college there, and they were describing how for them, I mean, it sounds crazy to me, but that they are comfortable actually with that temperature and are actually really hot. For someone to be like that, I feel like you're just burning up. But like in general, that sounds really cold. I mean, the next story we're going to get into is kind of related to that. Because of that cold temperatures, it's caused other problems in the state, or not in the state, I should say, in the eastern part of the state to occur because of just the extreme temperatures. It's crazy to think that, I feel like I'm beating this like a dead horse, but it's not clickbait. It was colder than the South Pole there. That's crazy to think that somewhere at the latitude we're at, which we're more northern, but we're not that much northern, got as cold or colder than the South Pole, which is just crazy to think. I mean, if I had known it was coming, I think it would have been really cool to drive over there if I had a truck. Sadly, I don't. If I did, I would have driven over there and seen it and experienced it and been there for that. But yeah, that's just crazy. Crazy temperatures. I hope everyone was able to stay safe and stay warm. From what I was seeing, there isn't any like major wrecks that occurred, which is encouraging to hear. Just hopefully everyone stayed warm, stayed inside, and stayed safe during these crazy temperatures. I mean, if you've got some interesting photos of like some ice formation or stuff that you want to send over, then send me a tweet on Twitter or at Gmail, and I'll repost it on the Twitter feed or talk about it on here maybe a little bit. But yeah, it's just crazy. But we'll move on to the next article that kind of relates to some of the effects going on because of those crazy temperatures. As promised, Lemhi River floods due to ice jam. This comes by the East Idaho News by Rhett Nelson. So part of the Lemhi River that passes through Salmon, Idaho flooded. The Lemhi County Sheriff, Stephen Penner, has said that at least a dozen have experienced flooding. He says the reason for the flood is, quote, an ice jam backing up the river and pushing water out of the banks and flooding a few homes, end quote. Some locals have said that the reason for the flooding has more to do with the raising of the embankments on the river to help with fish habitat. Independent of what caused it, the Idaho Fish and Game, Lemhi County Road and Bridge, Salmon Search and Rescue, Eagle Valley Ranch, and multiple members of the community are working to break up the ice and to place sandbags to prevent more flooding. According to the sheriff, they are unsure when the issue will resolve, but warm temperatures should help, which I was alluding to earlier. This is kind of an example. When it gets that cold, like certain ice filling up, I could totally see it where you've got the ice that's forming on it, And yeah, the river's moving so fast and being agitated and all that, but you still have temperatures is like negative 35 or whatever it might be at that area. And that water, even though it's moving fast, it's still freezing. And then a little bit of ice gets caught here and a little bit of ice gets caught there and slows that water down and then forms and forms and forms and forms until you get this basically ice dam that forms. And then it pushes the water out on everything else, which it makes sense. But hopefully everyone has been able to stay safe. I mean, the photos are interesting. I have to admit for myself, when I saw some, if you want, you can go look at the article. They've got a couple there that it made me step back for a moment and kind of rethink, like what flooding in the summer, when you see flooding or when you see large bodies of water, it's kind of this still kind of glassy type of look to it and everything. But this was crazy because you look at it and like you could tell in the photo that, yeah, that there was flooding where you could see where the snow had been and then you saw where the water had flooded to. But the frozen flooding looked like just like a sheet solid. It looked solid, but yet it was water and it was forming and it was flooding. Which, I mean, maybe I'm not doing justice of explaining it in here in kind of audio form, but it would just looked way different and kind of made me think kind of differently of that we all have this kind of perception of flooding when we think about it. But when you kind of look at it from that perspective, especially when it's that cold, the flooding doesn't look that bad. You're just like, oh, it looks like some snow that's a little different, totally solid. But if you actually stepped in it, you would, fall down into water. Which is kind of crazy to think about and consider, but hopefully everyone's safe. I mean, if I remember correctly, when I was reading this article, no one's been hurt, that there's only been a minimal amount of people that have had to move out of homes or different stuff. Like stated here, I could see the case that the locals are giving about the fish habitat. If you're raising the bankside to make all these bars and stuff for fish, then that's going to decrease your volume in the river, so that may have caused it. But then again, these temperatures that you guys are experiencing there or experienced last week are just record-breaking temperatures that could not be expected. So I do have to give a break there that I have no doubt the Idaho Fish and Game was like, it's not ever going to get this cold, so it's not going to be a problem. Well, it did get that cold, and so, got to recalibrate there a little bit, but hopefully everyone's safe. And we'll move on to a little bit of a more upbeat and warm topic. Upgrades to Warm Spring Golf Course. This comes by the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. Warm Springs Golf Course appears to be getting a new community center and clubhouse. This comes as an anonymous donor offered to donate $3.5 million towards its construction. As of right now, the course is using two 50-year-old double-wide trailers to serve as the offices, which have seen better days. The Boise Park and Recreation Director said that the timing of the donation was perfect. With that said, the $3.5 million donated will not be enough to complete the $9.6 million required for the planned building. The rest will be coming from the Boise's Golf Course Reserve Fund, which would be $2 million, and $1.4 million from the Boise Capital Fund. Granted, the $4.1 million from the city will be paid back over the course of a decade to the city. When finished, the new center/clubhouse will serve golfers as well as hikers going on nearby trails and people coming off the Greenbelt. It will also be able to seat 200 people, have beverages and food available, and have a 5,300 square foot food patio, plus a barn to hold all the golf carts for the course. This should hopefully keep the carts in better shape since they are out in the elements. As of right now, the course has been forced to keep them outside, so it takes a lot more time and work to keep them at a operational state. Which sounds really great. I mean, it's kind of funny. When I was researching this article, I kind of found out that I went here when I was younger for some golfing lessons because I was like, what is this place? I've never heard of this. And then I went and searched it up on Google Maps and looked at the satellite, and I'm like, I've been there. And it's a pretty cool place. I mean, I haven't been on the full course and everything, and for those that aren't in the Boise area, I'm just kind of doing this to kind of give a little bit of context. But it's still a really pretty course. I didn't know it was close to the Greenbelt, but maybe my memory, because when I went, I think it was like 13 or something. But it's really cool to hear that they're getting a more permanent building. The images, the renders anyway, look really great. And it's cool to hear that there was that donor that wanted to donate $3.5 million towards the construction. I will admit in the article, the Boise Dev said they tried really hard to figure out who it was. I get you trying to figure that out, but on the other hand, if a person's just wanting to give money, and if you can see that it doesn't have like some political angle or whatever else, they want to be anonymous, then let them be anonymous. There's a reason they wanted it. Let them have it. It's fine. Just let them give and give it in a way that doesn't give them a ton of credit or glory, because sometimes that's what you want to do, and I get that, and I respect that. But in any case, I look forward to it when it's coming. The article didn't give like a timeline of how long it would take for them to build and stuff, but I assume some of that's being formalized and stuff. It will be cool to see when they get it all finished, especially for all the golf carts to be able to go inside there. I can totally understand that like if you've got a vehicle or something, if you can just put a cover over it, it makes it last so much longer. The rubber, the paint won't fade as bad. Makes it easier to clean. Just everything works better when you can pull it inside, keep it protected, and then when you do want to use it, you roll it out. It's perfect. It works great. It's wonderful when you can do that, and I hope they can get that because I can only imagine if I worked at that golf course as a technician, him wringing his hands every spring trying to bring more golf carts back to life from the dead after winter and everything. I could totally relate. And he's like, if I could just have a cover to store these things, this would be so much better. But yeah, in any case, really good to hear, and I look forward to seeing when that's completed. A little bit of a quick one. I could have put it in the quickies, but I felt it was worth to have a full article. Bad times for Bed Bath & Beyond. This comes by the Boise Dev by Ann Daly. So this crossed my radar a couple weeks ago, but I didn't think it would have effects quite this fast. According to the Wall Street Journal, Bed Bath & Beyond are going to be filing for bankruptcy protection here soon, and the banks have cut off their credit lines. So not so good. January 10th, the chain released a list of stores that it was going to be closing in the U.S. The Twin Falls locations was on that list, but the Boise one was not. Well, on Sunday, sign-in showed up in the Boise store announcing it was closing and offering 20% off everything. With that said, employees at the Meridian location have said that the store is not going to close, but one has to wait and see. Which I personally, for most of my life, I have not been in a Bed Bath & Beyond any more than like 10 times. I mean, I think I can count like 5, maybe 3. It's not a big staple in my family and my life to kind of go in there, so I could see where they're kind of going out of business. But for other people, you might have some fun memories of doing stuff with them and shopping there. But I mean, on a positive side for you guys, if there's some products that you're really wanting and some bathroom related things, then maybe this is the time to take a trip to one of the remaining Bed Bath & Beyonds in your area and pick off some discounted stuff. I have no doubt at this point as recording this, the discounts have probably gotten greater because it sounds like they're just trying to clear house. They're trying to liquidate assets so they can have enough money to pay creditors and try to get themselves out of possibly filing for bankruptcy. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's certain businesses like the Blockbuster and others that have gone under that people had such fond memories. I think one of those a lot of kids probably was like Toys R Us when they finally went under and everything. That was really sad to hear. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond, it's sad to hear a company kind of go under like that because I feel bad for whoever's at the reins, CEOs and all the employees and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I can't think of a lot of like super fond memories for myself. Maybe you have some out there and have experienced it, but I will admit I did see this kind of coming. I heard some reports that Bed Bath & Beyond was struggling, but I didn't expect them to quite happen this fast. Like I remember, I think it was like just 2 weeks ago or something, I read some reports that they were kind of struggling and now they're closing stores. I mean, they must be really, really, really at the end of the rope here and they're trying to keep creditors off their back, which, especially if your credit lines are severed, then that's issue. But I mean, it kind of go hand in hand with the way that the economy's being a lot more stressed and creditors are trying to make sure they get their money back because a lot of people are pushing the credit really, really far out from what I've heard. So it makes sense. But anyway, a little bit of a short story. Thought it was worth sharing. You could get a wonderful deal. Hopefully Bed Bath & Beyond will be able to pull themselves out of this. But then again, I can't remember the last time I really felt like I needed to go to a specific store for bath and stuff like that. I just would order that off Amazon or get it somewhere else local. But in a more positive light, a company that is not going under but is getting bigger is a Boise-based ice cream company goes big. This comes by the Boise Dev by Ann Daly. Short but sweet, Boise has an ice cream company. It's called Killer Creamery. They started in 2016 and have been growing fast. Their first product to be sold nationwide by Albertsons was their zero sugar, gluten-free ice cream pints. They are now adding ice cream sandwiches to that list with 4 different flavors. They have also made a partnership with Idaho Milk Products in Twin Falls. So maybe next time you're looking for something sweet, you can purchase some of their ice creams and know it's coming straight from the state you love. Which this is really cool to hear. I would recommend you go look at their page because I was curious because I'd never heard of them. And I was like, wait, I know we talked about I think it's Gelato. company last week or a week or before last or whatever that was coming to Idaho, but I didn't know there was like a super big dairy company here. And I went and looked up their website and stuff, and I think I may have seen them myself at some of the grocery outlets in different areas. I don't know if the east side or up north has grocery outlet. I think I've seen theirs, because like the biggest telltale thing I noticed when I went to their site to go see it is that their containers are like usually purple, and their logo is like of a whale's tail, kind of a spoof on the form of like a killer whale, killer creamery. I did also read their About Me page, and it's really interesting to hear the course of their company and development, which it sounds crazy. It's been an interesting roller coaster, to say the least, if you look at their page, if that's how they're kind of developed and stuff. But also really cool to know about. I love whenever you hear about this, that it's a local based company. So if you buy your product, the milk's probably coming from either somewhere in the Treasure Valley or over from the Idaho Milks products in Twin Falls, and it's going to an Idaho based company, which is always cool and amazing to know that you're supporting kind of the local state. If I see them, I'll probably buy one and try it out here and see. But also, if you're someone who's watching out for your sugar content and you're a person who needs to be gluten-free, then, perfect choice there again. I mean, not dairy-free, but it's definitely gluten-free, which then again, I guess that's an interesting question to ask. Isn't it all gluten-free? I mean, it has dairy for sure. I mean, ice cream is ice cream. It's dairy. But aren't all ice creams gluten-free? Like, if you're just making ice cream, as best as I've understood it, and when I make it and stuff at home, like homemade ice cream, you're using milk. There's not any wheat being used in the production of it if you're truly making just ice cream. I mean, I could see where some companies, if you put a lot of like fillers and stuff in there, and some of them are based on grain products that could have gluten in them, then yeah. But honestly, it doesn't seem like a pretty high bar to clear to call yourself gluten-free ice cream. That's like someone saying my sand is dairy-free. Well, yeah, it's sand. Doesn't have anything to do with milk. It's not, but I mean, at the end of the day, they got to market it, But still cool to hear. I wish them the best, and if I run into them, I'll look at that. I do know, I didn't add it here in my notes, but they are now selling those ice cream sandwiches at all the Albertsons and like their subsidiaries and stuff, and some other stores. So if you're curious about them, their site does have like a locator where you can like put in there and search to find stuff. But yeah. They have their pint stuff, which was their first one to go nationwide with their Albertson stuff and everything. And then now they have their ice cream sandwiches, which will be cool to see. I know some people are big ice cream sandwich fans, which I'm probably going to recommend they try them out and let me know what they think, because I'm not a big one personally. I would rather have the pint of ice cream so I could do whatever I like with it. But that's me. Next one is Idaho wolf population dropping. This comes by East Idaho News by staff. At first, it sounds like a bad thing, but according to the Idaho Department of Fish and Game, it's a good thing. So for 2022, Idaho's population of 1,337 estimated wolves fell by 206, or 13%. Quoting the Fish and Game, there's been a concerted effort by Fish and Game staff, hunters, trappers, and other partner agencies to reduce wolf conflicts with livestock and to bring wolf population in balance with prey species, particularly elk. The goal of the agency is to get Idaho's population of wolves to roughly about 500 wolves. According to the data in this article, they're making headway towards that goal, but still have 837 wolves to go until they reach that target size. Most of the reduction and death are chiefly from hunting and trapping. A fun closing note about how they measured the population. To figure out the deaths, they look at the hunting records to see how many that died due to shooting, because most of them don't die from natural causes. But to figure out the population, Idaho has been the first state to use remote cameras to record and estimate the population. They deployed 533 cameras in July and August, which took about 10 million photos. Then they sorted through those with AI software to find examples of wolves. Still crazier, this is a new development. They just started doing this in 2019, which I think is crazy. I mean, think of the iPhone has been out since the early 2000s, and you're telling me that just in 2019, which I will admit, it's kind of existential crisis, that was like 4 years ago now, that they just started now in the last 4 years using trail cameras to document wolves. I mean, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, like, you're trying to measure stuff. You can't have people there all the time. Let's put a bunch of cameras up with some solar-powered batteries, and let's move forward with this. I mean, like, the whole Nest cameras and, like, home security camera stuff, like, came out before 2019 and were still big stuff. And so that technology still existed for compact, battery, long-life cameras to exist in remote locations. But Apparently, it took till now to do it. I mean, I sound like I'm really getting on the wildlife fishing game, but I'm glad they did it, and I'm glad they used it, and hopefully it saved a lot of money and resources of manpower and hours and stuff. But still crazy to think this is the first time it's ever been done. It was done here in Idaho, and it hadn't been done since 2019. I mean, I feel like there's a slight caveat maybe in there that I'm not seeing, that the article's kind of hiding, but still really cool to see. But I can't believe it took them this long to do this. It's also interesting to see that they want the population lower. I could see why, like, they make a good argument with the conflict with livestock and other stuff when I heard that. I can see where the naturalist people on their hand would want none of them to be shot, but I think this is a good thing, and I'm glad they're expanding this. I mean, I didn't go into it because it was going to make this section a little too long, but in the article, they do talk about how the amount of shooting of wolves and stuff has opened up more, so that they can have the population come down lower and lower and lower, which is great to hear. I think they should also do that for the elk and deer, but then again, I don't follow it enough to know what the status of those herds are, if they're getting really, really big, or if they're, really, really not reproducing very well, and so they're being very stringent with that. I've heard some guys speak some frustration about being able to hunt and stuff and get tags for things, but then again, that's just not a world I'm in. I'm a fisherman. I like to go fishing. I haven't gone hunting. I'd like to do it. I hope to find some friends to go do it, but I have not actually gone hunting ever. But fishing is my favorite. I love to go fishing, especially with some of the news we're going to get into here later with the reservoirs. I'm looking forward to going fishing this next year. Next story is possible Zupas in Meridian. This comes by the Boise Dev by Autumn Robertsons. So Zupas, a Utah-based sandwich, soup, and salad chain, is looking to add another store to the Treasure Valley in Meridian. They have put in for a zoning application for the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission. If approved, the new location would be off 10 Mile Road at 447 South Innovation Lane. They already have 2 locations in Boise and one in Meridian off Eagle Road and one in Nampa off Karcher Road. But the new location would have 45 parking spaces and be 3,136 square feet. But the cool part is it would have a drive-through, which none of the other locations in the valley have. Which, for those of you in the rest of the state, if I had to give some context, if you've ever been to Panera, which I know isn't prevalent in the rest of the state either, so it's kind of a poor example. But if you've been to Panera, Zupas and Panera is very similar. Also, think of Subway, but then, take Subway and turn it up to, fancy, like Subway, Chick-fil-A, if you get what I mean. Chick-fil-A is a fast food, but it's nice fast food, if I had to put it that way. Zupas is kind of the same thing when it comes to sandwiches, that it's not Subway, but it's nice sandwiches that you go in and everything's super fresh, and you've got these amazing kind of gourmet sandwiches or soups or stuff. I haven't had any soups, but personally, I kind of like Zupas better than Panera. I know some people say Panera's amazing. I got to say, Panera's bakery is king. They make some amazing stuff, especially their lemon cookies. Ooh, so good. Nummy. I am a sucker for lemons. But I would highly recommend, if you can, drop by Zupas. They're really cool, which it's exciting to hear of them adding a drive-through, because that's the biggest thing sometimes that I would like to get Zupas, but I'm like, do I really want to sit down and all that? And even with the curbside and their app, which I got to stress this, the app for Zupas, if you're listening, Zupa, your app is atrocious compared to your competitors. It is horrible. Honestly, if I had to vote for the best designed app, Chick-fil-A is the king for apps that I've used for restaurants and stuff. The absolute king. It works flawlessly. It makes sense. I can go around. But Zupas, come on. Don't make me go through. I have to go through a menu and I select my combo option. And then I go into the combo option. And then when you get into the combo option, you select the sandwich. And then you go into the sandwich and you select that. And then when you get done, you can't click confirm. You've got to click all your options, fill them out, and then back out of the menu. And then back into select your other combo. And then back out again. And then you hit confirm. And then when you go to your checkout, if you select your coupons, it won't check your coupons. You have to then know before you put your order in what your coupon codes are, or if you go back to figure them out, you're going to cancel your order, which makes no sense. It just, the frustratingness of Zupa's app is supreme. I mean, there's definitely some apps out there that are a little fickledy-pickledy, but Zupa's, love their food. Great food. Awesome food. Also, will warn you, just like Chick-fil-A, not open on Sundays. So if you're thinking about getting it after church, do not try to do that. It's not going to happen. There have been many Sundays I have thought that, and I have wept some tears. But yeah, in any case, this is really cool to hear with the drive-through. If you can, drop by Zupas. I'd highly recommend them. I've enjoyed them a ton. They're a little bit more pricey, but not way more of a saving. If you're someone who's a big Panera goer and you're trying to look for something as a cheaper alternative, I would recommend you take a look at Zupas. But yeah, really cool to hear. Glad that they're opening a location. They must be doing pretty good because of it. It'll be cool to see if the drive-through concept occurs, because that would be super, super cool and really, really nice to have. And I hope they expand their footprint out to the rest of the state, so, those over in other parts of the state could experience it and see it as well. Water prices may go up in the Treasure Valley. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. Viola Water is the main supplier of water in the Treasure Valley and has submitted a request to increase rates. This is due to, in their words, quote, an increased water expense and costs associated with plant additions, end quote. According to the article, there is going to be a public meeting Tuesday for input. They don't say if it was last Tuesday or this next Tuesday. If it is this Tuesday, it is going to be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., and they're going to be taking input from residents about potential increases in cost. These price increases come as Viola invested $7 million into improving infrastructure. Thus, they're asking for a 7.77% return from the city for the investments they've made for the water that then the city will consume, which on the return on investment part, I can understand that. I guess the question would be is if the improvements they did were things that were necessary, that like, okay, yeah, you spent this money, but if it wasn't something that was necessary and the taxpayers didn't want an increase in their value, then why did we do this? Because no one's going to want to pay this and we're all just going to be grumpy about this unless you're trying to force it on us. Or they might come back and be like, it was necessary upgraded infrastructure and we got to cover our costs, which, yeah, it's kind of a squirrely thing. I mean, wanting a 7.77% return isn't really bad. Granted, at $7 million, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The article didn't say the amount of increase. If it sits there and people are like, oh, yeah, my water bill went up $1. Like, oh, that sucks, but also it's $1. I mean, they do add up. Don't get me wrong. I live by that motto that like every little bit adds up. That $1 candy bar, that $2, $3 thing of soda. It does all add up over time. But I don't think people are going to be getting up over arms if it's something under $1 or $1. But I thought it was something worth sharing for people to know about. I mean, for a lot of us here in the state, I think I can speak candidly. A lot of us are on wells. So this just kind of doesn't affect us, but for those in the developed Treasure Valley area that are not on wells, then this is something to be aware of. And I think if you can, I mean, there again, as I said in the article, they didn't state what Tuesday. I mean, shame on KTVB7. I mean, I tried to glance and go out real quick because I was trying to get through stuff, and being sick and stuff kind of sucks for researching. And I didn't see what Tuesday it was, but one of these Tuesdays, hopefully it's this next one. So if you want to, you can go to it. But there is a meeting on that. Hopefully you can attend, but I really wish they had made that a little bit more clear. But if possible, please go and give your input if you're affected by it. If not, I guess it's something to be interested and aware of, that costs are going up across the line for everybody. So much fun, more money, yay. New ideas for Idaho Public Transit. This comes by KTVB7 by Justin Coeur. So Valley Regional Transit runs most of the buses in Boise and the Valley, is getting a new CEO. They are getting Elaine Clegg, who is an outgoing Boise City Council member. She hopes to grow the amount of public transit in the state of Idaho. Granted, one of the biggest objections brought up about doing this is that people just don't use it in Idaho and are not interested. She replied to that objection by saying, quote, "We look at transit as a behavior issue. People don't use it because they don't understand it, or it's not part of their culture or whatever. I think people don't use transit because it isn't easy, it isn't convenient, it doesn't go where they need it to go. I want to build a system that's easy, that's convenient, and goes where people need to go. I think if you do that, people will use it," end quote. With that said, it sounds like part of her plan is to build it and then they will come. But to do that, it takes money. She's hoping to get more elected leaders and bond voters on board by delegating tax dollars for transit. Granted, one idea she wants to do that a great deal of Idahoans, including myself, are interested in is bringing passenger rail to Boise and long rail from Salt Lake, or commuter rail from Caldwell to Boise. Granted, she argues for both, saying if long-distance rail is added, people will need buses to get around after they get off the train. Her first day as CEO of Valley Regional Transit will be Monday of this week. good on her. She's, kind of moving on. I mean, I haven't watched super closely. I have no idea how well she's done in the city council for Boise and how she's voted and whatever else. But congratulations to her promotion, and that she's, going after something she's very passionate about. I do have to agree with her. My inclination as someone who lives here, and I have done the research. This is just purely opinion that I'm kind of going into. I don't want public transit in the sense of buses and stuff and, them penalizing me for having my own car. I like my own car. I'm going to ride my own car, gosh darn it. Don't force me to be in a bus. I don't want it. I like my car. It's clean. It's the way that I kind of like it. It's my space. I mean, all these other things. I like it. I don't want a bus. I mean, I get there's a place for a bus in the inner city, but for commuting, I really do not want that. I like the bus. I don't like the bus. Freudian slip, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I don't want a bus. But the long distance train stuff, I do agree. And I also do agree with her position that as it stands right now, the current public transportation system in Idaho does not fulfill the needs that people would use it for. The buses for stuff, it only comes out. I mean, I remember looking about this way back when I couldn't have a driver's license or whatever else, that I could get a bus from this like weird parking lot in the middle of kind of nowhere in Nampa, and then it would take me into downtown Boise. But that just wasn't conducive at all for what I needed in my life, and so I just didn't use it. And I think that's where a lot of issues stem from with the transportation system in the Treasure Valley. Anywho, I don't know about the rest of the state if people want that, but I think in general, if you want to bring that revenue and that money, I do agree with her. I think your first step should be that long distance rail, because I think a lot of revenues can be generated in the state of Idaho. Adding that rail that could run lines from the Caldwell side to the Boise, and then that transit, cutting down on the amount of stuff that's going through on the freeway that could be done there. Different lines, like a line that could go from the Treasure Valley up to McCall or Cascade for people. Another line that could run from Boise to Twin Falls / Pocatello or something like that. I think those rail lines would be a huge, tremendous, and amazing blessing for a lot of people, and especially as the state is growing, would alleviate a lot of stress that someone could say, hey, prices of houses, I just can't do it in Boise, I can't do it in the Treasure Valley. I'll get something out in Twin Falls, I'll get something out in Pocatello, I'll get it in these other places, which they are growing, but then you can distribute that population load of all the people that want to be here off a broader area, so it's not quite as packed, and then they can rely on the train system to get them into town. As for her argument that you're going to need buses and things after people get off the train, I disagree with that. The advancements that have been done in like electric e-bikes and e-scooters and all these other just kind of personal, portable travel things that on average have like 10 miles of range or something. I think a lot of people are going to use those, and they're going to bring their own, and they're not going to use the buses, and that cuts down on traffic for you even more. And if they are not going to bring those, I think a lot of people are just going to grab either a taxi or an Uber or something and do that instead. And I think we should encourage that. Help private industry. Don't try to have government from every end of it do it. Government, I think, would work really well for the train system in this case, because it would cut through a lot of red tape and some stuff, and it would just work because it's already in its own red tapey world and stuff. I mean, the time to build it wouldn't be very quick, but it would happen. But when it comes to then people getting off the train, private industry will excel at that. That I think taxis and Ubers and the new world of kind of electric bikes and scooters and skates will easily fill that gap, and you don't need to try to add a bus or taxi system. As much as you want that and think it's great, I personally am a person who really doesn't like the idea of this super kind of utopian, we've got all of our own like community pods that we all share and we get shuttled around everywhere. But what happens if the government doesn't like you and you can't get on there and blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, no, you can't get around hardly anywhere. Yeah, I don't like that. But I think for the trains, I think that is an amazing idea. And I have full encouragement, and if there's any way I can help and support with that, let's do that. Let's go for that, because it can't be affected too bad by weather. Trains are a lot more efficient than the road system is at times when it comes to the wrecks and things that could happen. I think we should totally bring that on board, and I'm excited for that, to bring back the use of trains. Then again, I do have a kind of personal love. I love trains. They're awesome. I think they're super cool. But yeah, interesting to see. I wish her the best. It'll be interesting to see how things go, how they progress, and what ways it goes. Maybe she's going to keep going down this bus route, and I could be wrong, and it might work out great. And if that's the case, great. I just want what's great for Idaho, and I hope that she knows that as well and is willing to admit when she has an idea that just won't work. But we'll see. Anywho, we'll move on to the next one here. This one I alluded to earlier, Reservoirs doing better. This comes by KTVB7 by Sophia Bliss. According to a new report from Ryan Hendrick, operation lead with the Bureau of Reclamation, the Bureau handles the water systems in the state. The levels in the Boise River system are 108% above average this year. Woo! Granted, for some that may have seen Lucky Peak and the Boise River lately, it looks pretty low. This is because the bulk of the water is being kept in Anderson Ranch Reservoir. They have kept the water there because, quote, it's better to have water higher in the system, Hendricks said. We can move water down. We can't move it back up into the system, end quote. They're hoping about March to start filling Lucky Peak depending on how the weather goes. With this added surplus, it is thought that the Treasure Valley should be able to have a full irrigation season, unlike 2021 when it had to be cut short, which is awesome to hear. As a fisherman, I love this idea. More water. I mean, one dam that is always, I feel like, for many, many years, except for when I was younger, has struggled with having enough water is Owyhee Reservoir. That dam has always, or not dam, reservoir has always kind of seemed to struggle to fill up all the way. I'm really hoping with all this rain and snow and stuff we're getting, we can fill those up. I'm glad to hear that the main, like Lucky Peak, Anderson Ranch, Boise 1 is filled up as it needs to for all the farmers, because that's great. And then also on that same side, awesome news for the farmers. I know last year, I think it was, or maybe I'm getting my years mixed up. This last year, there were many farmers and people that I know that were in the water industry there that were like, this is not good. This is not good. And so it's really glad to hear that we're 108% above average. They didn't talk about the rest of the state and didn't have information. I don't know what things are looking like up north or some of the other dams, but I'm hoping this kind of shows that we're doing pretty good. Then again, it'll be interesting seeing with the snowpack, once that starts melting off in the spring season, how much of that actually fills up the reservoir and dams. And then we can kind of start having a look at how that's going to play out and everything. But yeah, great news to hear. Last one and fun one here, Valentine's Day Idealist. This comes by KTVB7 by Tracy Binghurst. For those looking for some ideas of what to do for Valentine's Day in the Boise area, KTVB has made a list of ideas. If you want, you can read the whole thing. I'm going to just pull out ones here or there that are noteworthy, and at the end kind of add some of my own noteworthy ones. Their recommendations are going to Barbacoa, getting candy at Lee's Candies, which I recommend. Really cool place. Getting some flowers from Hillcrest Floral. Also recommend. They also have some cool houseplants. So you can get some flowers and then get her a houseplant, or vice versa. I mean, houseplants are awesome, in my opinion. Visit the Boise Depot. Take a drive up to Bogus Basin and go to local hot springs. Also that one, highly recommend. Hot Springs, Valentine's Day. That sounds awesome. As for my recommendations, for those maybe a little further out west in the Treasure Valley, taking out your significant other for a dinner and some candy at the Weezer Chocolate Factory, highly would recommend that for a Valentine's or date idea. You get to have candy, and they make amazing food. Like, if you like bacon, get their bacon sandwich. You get, I think it's like a 1/4 pound of bacon. I'm not joking. It is a ton of bacon, and it is amazing. You can get bacon, and then you can get candy with them there, and it's supporting a local Idaho business, so highly recommend it. Great place, like a match made in heaven for Valentine's Day. I don't know how busy they'll be that day. Probably very. Next one would be take a drive out to Jerome, Idaho, and get some barbecue at Bullseye's Barbecue. Love their stuff. Sadly, they had to close down. I actually emailed them a week or two back. They had to close down their store in Hagerman, do some stuff. And they do have a location in Jerome, Idaho. Highly recommend them. The barbecue they make is amazing. Some of the best I've had in the state. So if you want to take your person out there for a nice road trip and you guys can talk in the car and listen to some music and get some delicious barbecue and maybe go out to hot springs out there, that's a wonderful option. Another one is to take a drive out to Homedale and then stop and do some stargazing. That would probably be really amazing to do. Another one is to have dinner at Luciano's Italian Restaurant. Highly recommend that. I mean, it's been a little bit since I've been in there. It's in Boise, but they make really good Italian food from what I remember. I'd recommend them, so it's not going to break the bank, but good food. Probably have a wonderful time. And you be in Boise, maybe you'll be able to go to some live music performance at the Morrison Center or drop by Lee's Candy as well. I would recommend that one. For those up in Lewiston, I would highly recommend Tomato Brothers. Love their food up there. Tomato Brothers, amazing Italian food. Love it. If they were closer, I would go there a ton. Some of the best Italian food I have ever had on all my trips and stuff. So if you have a significant other, highly recommend going there. Even if you're not someone who's big in Italian, highly recommend. They have some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life. So if you're a person who, you want to go to that kind of more formal Italian, but you're not really into Italian food, you can get their pizza and it is awesome. For those in McCall and Cascade area, you could go ice skating and then do maybe some stargazing. I think that would be amazing. Go to some local music vendors, depending on where you're at in the state. I know for Sandpoint, there's a ton of live music performances always having. You just got to do a little bit of research and even talk about it on the podcast here. And then lastly, if you've got a place, get together with another couple and celebrate that you could get together with another friend of yours that has a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever and hang out and have an evening, have some good food and watch some movies and hang out. And sometimes that quality time and spending it with people you trust and love is amazing for Valentine's Day. That would be my recommendations. I thought, I saw this post and I was like, hey, I think they got some great ideas here, but I think I also have some great ideas. So I thought I'd throw some in there. I guess let me know if any of these work out for you, if you enjoy them, if it's a wonderful blessing. If you're people in other parts of the state, particularly the east part of Idaho, which I haven't been in a lot, if you've got some ideas, send me a message this week and I should be able to have it ready and put out next week. And I can give those suggestions as well to people. If you have some recommendations for stuff over there in Pocatello and Idaho Falls and Rexburg and stuff that you would think would be amazing to do for like a Valentine's Day with your significant person. But yeah, I thought this was like a perfect one to kind of close out the main topics. With that said, we'll get into the quickies here, and I look forward to talking to you here next week. Starting off with the first quickie, clearing of derailed train in Pocatello. This comes by East Idaho News by Kalama Hines. Last Sunday, a 25-car train derailed at the Pocatello rail yard around 10 p.m. The main line was not affected and no one was injured. But this last Monday, Union Pacific crews cleared the derailed train in the morning. The cause of the derailment has not been released, but the Union Pacific says it's under investigation. This is also the third derailment near Pocatello since June. New Bagel Restaurant. This comes by the Boise Dev by Gretchen Parsons. Good Time Bagels has opened at 2422 West Main Street in Boise. The Bagel Restaurant specializes in Monterey-style bagels. For those wondering what they are, including myself, they are basically wood-fired bagels that give them a crunchier crust. They have tons of other interesting offerings. They're open Wednesday through Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Idaho Humane Society gets reward. This comes by KTVB7 by Jude Binkley. Idaho Humane Society has been awarded $200,000 grant from the PetSmart charity aimed to help make veterinarian care more available for low-income families. The Humane Society is going to use the funds for new training and to make it easier for low-income families to afford treatment for their animals. Last one here, Amazon warehouse cited by OSHA. This comes by KTVB7 by Idaho Press Staff. Last Wednesday, the U.S. Department of Labor announced that Amazon had exposed its workers at its Nampa warehouse and 3 others to unsafe conditions and ergonomic hazards. OSHA said, quote, Amazon's operating methods are creating hazardous work conditions and processes leading to serious worker injuries, said Dugan Parker, Assistant Secretary for Occupation Safety and Health. They need to take these injuries seriously and implement a company-wide strategy to protect their employees from these well-known and preventable hazards, end quote. Amazon responded with, quote, we don't believe the government's allegations reflect the reality of safety at our sites, Natalie said. We've cooperated with the government through its investigation and have demonstrated how we work to mitigate risks and to keep our people safe. Our publicly available data shows we reduced injury rates in the U.S. nearly 15% between 2019 and 2021. We also know that there will always be more to do, and we will continue to work to get better every day, end quote. The possible penalty would be $15,600 and would have to be decided by June 13, 2023. Amazon, as of last Wednesday, has 15 days to comply, request an informal conference with area director, or contest the findings. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If I missed something, got something wrong, or you have some advice for the show, then send me an email at localyokelidaho2002@gmail.com or tweet me at localyokelidaho on Twitter. This show is just a one-man show, so I can't afford to go over everything, but I hope I was able to cover as many things as possible. Thank you for your help and support. That's all for now, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your week. Godspeed.